Springfield's news and talk.
All right, as we do each and every Wednesday at this time, we get a pulse of what's going on in the Springfield business community. The Springfield Business Journal publisher Michelle Ownbey joins us here with Springfield's Morning News. I'm Greg Bishop on 92.7 WMAY, Springfield's News and Talk. Good morning, Michelle.
Good morning, Greg.
Lots to get to. And one of the things that we're going to talk about, we actually highlighted quite a bit in the Springfield Council Roundup earlier in the 7 o'clock hour, deals with more residential units. We'll get to that here in a moment, but go ahead and update us on a different project that was supposed to have some residential units and a developer that had some problems with that. What's going on with Rick Lawrence?
Yes, there was a lot going on downtown these days, and at the city's Economic Development Commission meeting last week, one of the agenda items was the project that you just mentioned, the Adirondack project that came before the council last night, but the EDC commission members also asked for an update on what was going on with what's known as the Booth-Ferguson buildings. It's actually three buildings consecutively there at the southwest corner of 6th and Monroe. And you may remember way back in 2012, Rick Lawrence from Siciliano had started work on those properties, intending to turn the upper stories into higher-end residential units. Of course, that's where Cafe Brio was located in the lower level for many years, and then Vele up until they moved to the west side a couple years back. But work stalled on that project somewhere around 2016 after Rick had kind of expanded the scope of the project beyond the agreement with his lender. First Bankers Trust ended up foreclosing on that property, and then the mortgage was later sold to a firm out of New York, Chesterfield Faring. And you probably remember this, Greg. I was present at the council meeting, and it was pretty contentious. Back in September of 2020, the New York-based developer came forward asking for a little over $3 million in TIF financing, and the council really grilled them over it because one of the issues was there was about $1.2 million of unpaid vendors that had been unpaid, union dues, things like that, from when Rick had been spearheading the project. And so the council sort of reluctantly made the award to try to move the project forward on the condition that debt get paid off. But unfortunately, that debt has not been paid off. Of course, that was back in 2020, so things kind of ground to a halt during the pandemic. The New York developer was unable to secure financing. They've now backed out of the project, and basically Rick is back at it. The New York firm still has the mortgage, but the developer has taken a pass, and they are looking for somebody else to come in and take it over.
What a storied history. I remember when they initially brought this out during the administration of former Mayor Mike Houston. And they actually took members of the media through that Ferguson Booth building and had some renderings, and we got to see all the work that needed to be done. It was quite fascinating, but that was, my gosh, 10 years ago almost. It's pretty incredible.
Yeah, 2012, exactly. It was that was a decade ago, like you said, and it started under Houston's administration and still continuing. But it does appear that they may have at least one new tenant soon, that restaurant space that was occupied by Cafe Brio and then Vele. Of course, that is probably the closest space to being move-in ready in those three buildings. And there was a permit filed just a few weeks ago to kind of do some finish work for that. And a restaurant called Aunt Lou's Soul Food is supposed to be opening in early 2023.
So we'll watch that space. Absolutely. And obviously it's
a tenant in there.
Yeah, it's a pretty important part of downtown as well. Michelle, we don't want to spend too much time on this next story because we did spend a substantial amount of time with the council roundup hearing all about this project from another New York developer down by the medical district. They're wanting to take an old parking lot that's kind of just sat there for decades and make it into residential units. What's going on there, and it looks like this thing's moving forward.
Yes, and I did hear your discussion during the council roundup, so I'll just touch on it as you said. But I think this is one of those rare projects, shall we say, that almost everybody can get behind, taking a surface parking lot and transforming it into new construction. And I think what's really probably going to seal the deal for this one is it is going to be market rate housing. Of course, the Wyndham, that became pretty hotly contested over the idea of, whether or not to have subsidized units, and then you were looking at taking hotel rooms off the market. So this has no such controversy, going from a parking lot to $28 million of new construction, that's hard to argue with. Yes, they're asking for the targeted TIF and the expansion of the enterprise zone, but it's very project specific, so it's not taking money away from the existing TIF or anything like that. And while, low-income rental units are sometimes controversial, that is not the case here, since they're really doing market rate and targeting workers in the downtown and the medical district. So, and they already have the zoning as well, so they're not even seeking a zoning change. So I know it's on the debate agenda for next week, but looks like it should probably be smooth sailing for this project.
And they actually said last night they look to possibly, if everything gets in line, including having a targeted TIF and the expansion of the enterprise zone, they're looking at possibly starting up sometime in the spring of 2023 to get a good amount done before the colder months come through. So we'll see how quick that comes about in downtown Springfield. We're talking with Michelle Ownbey, publisher of the Springfield Business Journal. Before we get to this last bit about Blue Cross Blue Shield and Springfield Clinic launching a different health plan, tell us how we can get a copy of the Springfield Business Journal.
Well, you can go online at springfieldbusinessjournal.com and sign up to get the print edition delivered to your home or office. The January issue will get mailed next week. And, of course, if you get online this morning and get signed up, you can make sure you receive Biz Bites. It comes out every Wednesday afternoon with kind of a digest of what's happening in the area business community.
So make that happen with the Springfield Business Journal. Michelle, finally here, looks like Springfield Clinic taking things into their own hands. What's going on with the new health plan that they have launched?
Yeah, we've talked about a lot over the last year or so about this dispute with Blue Cross Blue Shield, and I think quite a few, both businesses and individuals, were sort of taking a wait-and-see approach and hoping for a resolution. That does not seem to be the case. Springfield Clinic officials say they're not even at the negotiating table at this point. Each side says the other side is not responding, and so there doesn't seem to be any progress there. So, as you mentioned, Springfield Clinic's kind of taking things into their own hands. They have partnered with a group called Consociate Health out of Decatur and launched the Springfield Clinic Advantage Plan. So this is an opportunity for employers to become self-insured for health coverage. They're targeting businesses with 10 employees or more, so small businesses all the way up to larger scale businesses. Of course, all the Springfield Clinic doctors would be in network, and there's some other things going on there. So they've started kind of publicizing that plan, and hope within the next 90 days to begin offering quotes to businesses that want to look at going that route, because, of course, this is the time of year a lot of businesses are evaluating their health insurance options.
Michelle Ownbey, publisher of the Springfield Business Journal, always appreciate your time. We'll talk again next week, all right?
All right. Thanks, Greg.
It is Springfield's Morning News. It's all I've got for you today here with Springfield's